Sooner Nation, Longhorn fans, episode 4, the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm with my good friend Kevin Miller. I'm John Whitson, and we are excited to be here for episode 4. Can you believe it, Kevin?
Man, no, I can't, but it's been great.
Is this proof that anybody can have a podcast for 4 episodes, the fact that we're here?
Oh, no doubt.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Easiest thing in the world to do. I love it. I am having fun. For those that are watching episode 3 or who just watched episode 3, this is a continuation of episode 3 where we're going to continue talking about the greatest games in the OU Texas rivalry history, our favorite ones. And
really more our favorite, right? Because some of them weren't entertaining games for the neutral fan to watch, but from each individual fan base, they have a special meaning for some reason.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because they can be memorable, they can be pivotal, they can be the game that pushed one of us or the other towards a national championship or away from one. Absolutely, you're right. They're not the greatest games. In fact, one of the things we forgot to talk about on episode 3 are the games that did not make our list. So we each picked 3. Do you have 1 or 2 honorable mentions that we're not going to talk about, at least in this episode and the next?
Yeah, I think, the 2013 game stands out. Max last year, one of the most surprising games in my history of watching it.
We had beat Notre Dame earlier that year.
Yeah, and you guys were on a 3-game winning streak against Texas. So certainly didn't go into that one expecting Texas. You're always hopeful, but not expecting a win. And they just kind of came out and just kind of put it on the Sooners that day. It was kind of, honestly, the first time of Bob Stoops' tenure that the Sooners really didn't look ready to play like he always has them.
They were not ready to play.
They didn't seem ready, which even in 2005, when Texas was by far the superior team, they were ready to play. The Sooners were ready to play. But
I think this is our first game without Venables, right? 2013?
I believe so. Yeah.
I hope that's had something to do with it. One of the games that did not make the list for me, and you were there on my ticket, was the 2020 COVID triple overtime game.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't get the love it deserves because it was so limited in attendance and it was COVID and it was weird, but that was a hell of a game.
It was a fun game to be at. First of all, it was weird seeing, I don't know, was it 15,000 fans or so in the Cotton Bowl?
That actually sounds like my dream.
It was very comfortable to be able to extend both arms and have nobody anywhere near you. I mean, it was eerie though, just kind
of. In the very last play of the game, if Herman runs Ellinger on the 2-point conversion, you win the game.
Oh, at the end of the fourth quarter.
At the end of the fourth quarter, you win the game. It's over. We're not stopping you.
I thought for sure. I mean, they were down by almost, I think, 3 scores. So to me, you come back, you get in a position, just go for 2. I mean, you weren't going to win anyway. Just go for 2. Why not?
Have we ever stopped Sam Ellinger on a quarterback run to the right side ever in the history of Sam Ellinger?
So. No.
I could not believe he didn't run the ball. And I thought, well, we're going to win because that's the chicken crappiest move I've ever seen.
Why he would keep going toe-to-toe. And then even in overtime, they would score a touchdown. You would score. And then they would score. I'm like, okay, just go for 2. Just go for 2 here.
Yeah.
Stop going head-to-head with the best offensive coordinator in college football. What are you doing?
And it was crazy hot that day, wasn't it? Wasn't it like a really hot game? Yeah, so the defense – defense was worn out.
Yeah.
Oh, but Drake Stoops makes the catch. I mean, how that doesn't make the list tells you how good the games are that I'm going to be bringing into the
Real quick on that game too, Trey Brown, kind of underrated as a Longhorn killer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The sack for the safety on Ellinger in the Big 12 championship game, massive play, biggest play in the game.
I think he's a victim of him and Trey Norwood both are a victim of poor coaching in the defensive backfield.
Correct.
Because
Trey Norwood was really good for the Steelers last year.
Really absolutely. Good. Absolutely. And Trey Brown constantly was on the ball, constantly around the ball.
Yeah.
And so, I just think they were a victim of just really bad coaching, positioning, scheme. I'm not a scheme guy. You're not going to hear me breaking down schemes. I don't really understand to that level, but I understand that when you see guys in the NFL performing like a Trey Norwood, you think, my God, what the heck were we doing that we couldn't get this same performance?
See Texas football the last 10 years. I mean, we're becoming NFL bargaining band.
You know what I'm excited
about that in episode 1.
I'm excited to see how all your draft picks do this year.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
For those wondering what that inside joke was, Texas had 0 draft picks. 0. It's amazing we're even doing a Bevo podcast with 0 draft picks.
Hey, but that's about to end. Those days are over.
Oh,
I'm telling you right now.
I'm fully invested. Kevin, before we start talking about the games that we did choose, that did make the list, we got to give a shout out to Brown O'Haver.
Yes.
Kevin works for Brown O'Haver. I work for Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm that works for the insured, not the insurance company. We handle claims to get you paid more money, whether it's your residence, whether it's your business, commercial, whatever the case may be, whether it's a brand new claim or a claim that's a year old. Give us a call, 405-735-5510. Check us out on Facebook at Brown O'Haver. We get our clients 30 to 40% more on average than they do on their own. Give us a call, 405-735-5510. Let Brown O'Haver work for you. Kevin, the day of this taping, Ray Liotta died.
Yeah. Sad.
Is he the best? Did he put together the best depiction of a ghost of any movie of all time? Yes or no? Best ghost.
It's up there, man. I mean, Patrick Swayze was a good ghost. I mean, there was some good ghosts out there.
Patrick Swayze. He was the ghost. You're right. Patrick Swayze was the ghost. Whoopi Goldberg was in that movie too. Ghost.
She was, yeah.
Talented. Dude, listen. So my girls, I had them. I wanted to watch Field of Dreams. It's unbelievable. And so we start watching it, and then my girls are like, Dad, why are we watching this? This is a baseball movie. I'm like, no, it's not a baseball movie. It's a ghost movie.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? I go, it's a not scary ghost movie. And then, dude, they were hooked. They freaking love it. There you
go.
They watched last summer when Kevin Costner walked on the field and just stood there for 5 minutes as only Kevin Costner could do. My girls were fired up. So
that was a moment.
I am going to give Ray Liotta, rest in peace, the nod as best ghost ever portrayed. I think it's pretty weak that Texas fan doesn't agree with this.
Well, I'm more of a Goodfellas guy. I mean, I think of Ray Liotta, that's the first thing I think of.
This is a family podcast. You can't even quote one quote from Goodfellas.
It's still one of the greatest movies ever. Come on.
Listen, it is. Joe Pesci is so good in Goodfellas.
He's unreal. Yeah.
He is so good. It's a great movie. Anyway, we're talking OU Texas. Okay, you got to go first last time.
Yes.
And you went with 05. I followed up with 96. I'm going to stay in the theme of ending streaks. Okay. Streak ending wins. And I am going with the 2000.
Okay. You're going to go there.
Texas fan. And Kevin Miller specifically, what are your thoughts? Like, what were you thinking going into the 2000 OU Texas game?
Just excited to watch it. Didn't think there was much separating the two teams. I mean, I think 10 and 11 in the national rankings at the time. Actually had a guy I went to high school with, Cedric Griffin, who was committed to play at Texas at the time. So I remember talking to him before and asking him what do you think. It's like, we're gonna win, right? He's like, yeah, I
Were
think
you
so.
were you boys with Cedric Griffin?
We weren't super close, but we went to middle school and high school together. He's a really good guy. I mean, his story, it's unbelievable. He didn't really, first of all, he was a stud, right? As you would expect. Didn't have a lot of offers though after his junior year. Somehow gets in touch with the Texas coaches and asks if he can attend one of their football camps. Goes to the camp, and after his performance at the camp, they offer him instantly, and he commits right then and there. So he came back to San Antonio and told us that he got an offer and committed. It was
But you were
incredible.
telling me his family life wasn't the best. His home life wasn't great.
He had some rough family stuff going on in high school. I remember him living with the family of another guy on the team. So to overcome that, he gets to Texas, 4-year starter, national champion, second round pick, 7 or 8 years in the NFL. Went back to Austin, got his degree. So it's just a great story.
So you're saying after the 2000 game, you like him because he had the integrity not to switch over to Oklahoma after losing 63-14. That's what you're saying about
exactly. Yeah. He's loyal. He showed his loyalty. And y'all were after some of the recruits. I would ask him about some of the guys. Derek Johnson, Tommy Harris, who was still uncommitted at the time, who Texas fans, along with every other school in the country, wanted. So he would kind of give me the little inside scoop on those guys. So,
dude, I love it.
Great.
You need to text Cedric Griffin and get him on our next episode.
Well, I haven't spoken to him in probably about 13 years, but I will see if I
can look at one of those Holmes High School reunion websites and say, "Hey, dude, remember me? We went to what? Did you Sol Ross? Did you go Sol Ross?
I went to Pat Neff, actually.
Pat Neff.
Yeah.
Say, hey, well, I went to Pat Neff. Let's get on this podcast. It is trending. It is viral. You got to get it on. Okay, 2000 game. Here's just some of my quick takeaways. Number one, as talked about in episode 3, we are now on grass.
Yeah, the artificial turf. The AstroTurf is gone.
But it was gone in 99 too, right?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
Okay, but yes, so we're on grass. The pads still look big, but they look manageable at this point.
Correct. Yeah, we're getting more to the modern look.
Major Applewhite is your starting quarterback, but y'all have a little quarterback controversy brewing, or
it's brewing. Yeah. It's already brewing. It really boiled over in 2001, but at that point, it's already brewing.
Okay, with Chris Sims, one of the most hated. Maybe he's not the most hated because he was terrible against us, but we just didn't like him. Nobody liked Chris Sims.
Yeah,
I see him on Football Tonight on Sunday Night Football, and I still just chuckle at how bad we beat him.
Well,
all the time.
Yeah, it's really shocking because he was so talented. It's those teams. It was just interesting how they would kind of fold in those moments against the Sooners.
Speaking of folding in moments against the Sooners, we had 2 Roy Williams on the field, right?
Yes.
In 2000?
Yeah.
We had one Roy Williams who made a career on Texas, and we had another Roy Williams who in 3 or 4 years never caught a touchdown pass.
Correct. Yeah, our guy, super talented. He was a freshman in 2000, so just getting his feet wet. So I didn't hold his performance in that game against him being a true freshman. You know how it is in Cotton Bowl. You don't usually see players shine as true freshmen, but
Well, didn't your true freshman last year shine in his first appearance?
Hey, he's a different dude though. That guy's different.
Well, he is pretty good. Ewing, he's pretty good. And then let's see here. So getting into the game, I mean, Oklahoma fan, I think we thought we could win, but we were coming off a bad win against Kansas, like 34-16, lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really have momentum going into the game like we wanted.
Yeah.
And then it started, and there was just no chance y'all were going to win that game from the very beginning.
From the kickoff, yeah. It was just.
And I think this game is indicative of the games to come, where not only did Bob Stoops beat Mac Brown, but he destroyed Mac Brown when he had the chance.
Yeah.
Like the accelerator stayed on, and he made it a point to beat down Texas when he had the opportunity. And
it was definitely a statement game.
And we see it 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, you see it in 2003, and you see it in, I think, was it 2011 and 12?
Yeah.
And 12.
And 12. Just destroy.
4. Yeah.
And that's what Mac was never really able to do. I mean, Mac got a good win. We talked about 2005. It was a good win. But you didn't just leave going demoralizing. This was a demoralizing, kick in the nuts kind of win.
It was.
And Quinton Griffith had 6 touchdowns.
6.
That had to Quinton Griffith cannot be a favorite player, a Texas fan.
Oh, no. Listen, he's probably at the top of my list of guys that, that we dislike because he was so good. First of all, was he 5'5"?
I think he was 5'2". 5'2".
Linebacker. How do you even see him? He comes behind the line and then all of a sudden there he is running past you. That was a good player. I mean,
he didn't break 100 yards though. I think he only had 80-something yards against you guys.
Oh, well,
but
when you're scoring 6 touchdowns, it doesn't matter. And he got us again in 2002 as well. So, yeah.
And then
we had enough of him when he was done.
Defensively, you got Rocky Kalmus, Torrance Marshall, JT Thatcher, Derek Strait,
Roy Williams.
Roy Williams. The defense but we don't know it yet. That's in hindsight.
Yes. We didn't know who those dudes were those dudes yet.
But you say those dudes' names out loud, you're like, oh, well, they're amazing. Yes, they weren't amazing in 2000 before we played Texas. They were really solid football players. We thought we had a good defense. But, we were more focused on the offense. Like, we had Josh Heupel in 99. We had him through the first deal. We got Mangino at this point. But, we're thinking high-powered offense, lots of passes. That defense in the 2000 game is like, oh, here we go. Yeah. And I just it was just relentless against you guys. And you were a good team.
Yes.
I mean,
a good team with good players. Yes.
Who was your running back?
It was Hodges Mitchell was our running back. Who was a good player. Yeah.
Good player. You had the Roy Williams. You had Applewhite, who had proved himself, and then you did bring Chris Sims off the bench.
Yeah. Didn't help.
It didn't help. It was just it was terrible.
Didn't matter. Yeah.
And I don't know. There's not so much to talk about from a strategic standpoint or anything like that. The significance of the game is it propelled Oklahoma to its national championship.
It really was a statement too. I think it was like, okay, are they for real? And it was like, oh yeah, we're for real. We're here, and you guys, you better get ready because we're just getting started. And that's exactly what happened. You guys were just getting started.
And so many of those games that we see that we treat like those games there's some, you can look back and see some quirky plays that happened. There was no quirky plays in this game. It was just a beat down from beginning to end.
No, it was just like, and there were no, 90-yard touchdown passes or runs. It was just 8 yards here, 9 yards here, 10 yards here, just straight down the field.
Yeah. Josh Heupel picking up Mark Clayton was on this team.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't know that Mark Clayton was Mark Clayton back then, and he had some runs in this game. Brandon Jones was on this team.
Yeah, it was Antoine Savage,
Fagan,
Andre
Mackey.
Woolfolk playing receiver before he switched over to defense.
Oh yeah, I got that down here. Yeah, I got that down here on the list of things. That's anyway. I don't want to beat a dead horse because I know that you've experienced a lot of flashbacks having to watch the game, but it really set the tone. It said to the. And I remember that Sports Illustrated had us were we on the cover the next week?
Yeah. I mean,
it was so exciting and so much fun. And I asked Teddy Lehman about this game, and he goes, I remember it being wet and not very many people in the stands by the end of it.
Hey, if I would have been there, I would have been gone at half. I mean, it was 42-0.
That started
the second quarter.
That started the trend of Texas exoduses that lasted for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we had a few of those.
All right. I've just got a smile on my face. I could talk about that game I could keep talking about the game. But let's put a pin in 2000. Let's allow Texas fan to tell me their number 2 pick.
All right, 2008. Yeah.
That was a good game, dude.
It was a great game.
So if 2000 was not a good game, 2008 was a heck of a football game. Were you there?
I was there.
Where were you sitting? Where were you sitting?
I was in the upper corner, like in the upper deck. Remember, they had just expanded it.
Yes.
So I was in the corner of the end zone, not all the way up, but on the second level.
Okay, I was all the way up.
Okay.
On Oklahoma's side, but in that new section that where they put the new TV screen.
Yeah.
I was in that new section all the way. I must have been 2 rows from the top.
Yeah.
But it was in the end zone. The view was fantastic. I got introduced to red velvet cake beer before that game.
So you actually had it on game day?
I had it on game day.
How brave of you.
A little younger then, thinking.
Yeah.
And I also thought that you had to do it at the Cotton Bowl.
You do it the day before. If you're in town. If you can get in town early enough on Friday, that's when you try all the weird stuff. You can't risk having a messed up stomach during the game.
I didn't have a messed up stomach, but it went down so good. Red velvet beer at 9:30 in the morning on OU Texas went down so good.
Better.
Nothing gives you a headache in the Dallas heat worse than red velvet beer.
Yeah, or any beer. The beer in the wax cup with the Fletchers.
Oh, I was hungover.
Better.
I was hungover by halftime.
Yeah.
Oklahoma gets up to a 21-0 lead.
Actually, no, it was 14-3. And I want to talk about this too. OU ranked number 1, Texas coming into the game number 5. Both teams undefeated. So huge college game day. I mean, it's a lot of hype. A lot of hype surrounding the game.
If you put the rosters up against each other for this game, the talent level is
insane. It's ridiculous.
Give me 3 guys off of your team that to remind us the talent level.
Okay, well, obviously, I mean, Colt McCoy, but Brian Arakpo, first round pick. Yeah. Jordan Shipley, Sooner Killer. Maybe number 1 on that. We also had Lamar Houston, Roy Miller, Sergio Kendall.
Did you have the Ocho brothers on this team?
Sam was there. I don't think Emmanuel was there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking Gerald McCoy, Jermaine Grisham, Heisman Trophy winner Sam Bradford, Joaquin Iglesias was on that team.
Yeah, Manny Johnson.
Manny Johnson's on that team.
Did you say Broyles? I'm not sure if you said Broyles.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Broyles. Our linebacker was pretty good, Ryan Reynolds.
I thought he was very good.
We had a young Travis Lewis. We were loaded.
Austin English was a good player.
I think you made a good point about make the point you made about this matchup in terms of you guys getting a win against this team.
Well, it was really the first time in the Mac Brown era that they beat an OU team that was just as talented. In 2005, Texas was a superior team, but this is the first time that they went toe-to-toe against a really good OU team and went at them for 4 quarters and came out on top. That's something that we hadn't seen before. We had seen them, like in 2002, for example, it was back and forth, but once it got into the late 3rd and 4th quarter, OU was able to pull away. So we had seen that kind of performance before out of Texas. But this one, 2 teams at their very best, loaded with elite talent, and it was just the kind of game that Texas would normally lose. And they just kept fighting, just kept punching back, and were able to get the win. So this one really stands out for Texas fans. It's really, besides that USC win, I mean, this is up there, almost up there with that. It's the best non-championship game win as a Texas fan that I've experienced. Seriously,
We are sitting in the end zone, all the way up there. We're up 14. We've just gone up 14-3. We are getting the sense that maybe this is like every other OU Texas game over the last 8 or 9 years at this point, where we're gonna, we're winning before we even walk in the stadium type situation.
Yeah.
Jordan Shipley gets that gets that kickoff. Dude, the sea parts like nothing I've ever seen, and he runs that ball straight at me. And I think he's looking at me when he runs the ball and taunts me the entire time, scores a touchdown in the Oklahoma end. It was one of the more deflating plays in the entire series. For you, is it the exact opposite for Texas fans?
The exact opposite, because we're worried too. Because, it's like, we don't do something now, this is going to get away from us, because we didn't look like we were able to stop you guys at all up to that point.
Jordan effing Shipley
Yeah.
is the most hated player for me. He made so many plays against us.
Yeah.
That play, that touchdown return. But then in the 08 game and the 09 game, it was like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. You knew where they were going. Colt McCoy was going to Jordan Shipley.
Yeah.
And what always fascinated me about Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley is neither one of them, if you lined them up without their pads on, are you thinking these two guys are the most physically imposing players on the field, right? Quite the opposite.
Not at all.
They were just, I'm from Texas. I was born in Texas. I've lived now in Oklahoma for over 20 years. So I make fun of Texas plenty with, these are the gritty Texan guys. And I think always with the golfers, Texas loves to say these are gritty, Jordan Spieth, gritty golfers. And those two dudes were gritty football players, though.
Yeah.
Like, they just played ball. And
listen,
I hated every freaking second of it.
And Jordan Shipley, he was at Texas for 6 years. I mean, his first 2 years, he didn't play at all because he had 2 major injuries. So, and Mac Brown actually said, hey, man, you might consider giving this up. I want you to be able to have a good life when you're in your 30s and 40s. He stuck it out, finally got onto the field in 06. And
is there any hope? Is there any hope for Oklahoma fan that in his 30s and 40s, he now is like, a walking shell of himself? Is there any chance of that? Or is he actually
he seems to be doing pretty good. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great job, Jordan. Glad you persevered.
And like you said about that, you look at him, and remember, we also had Quan Cosby. Also doesn't look, they didn't look like Roy Williams did, who was, 6'3.5", 215 pounds, chiseled guy. But, the heart and the toughness that these guys had, just that 08 team was just different. When it wasn't the typical Texas team, as people like to say. They definitely brought it.
Key play or the big, that was the big momentum change, but we still score. Jermaine Gresham gets another score after that. We go up 21-10. And we're even up 28-20 into the third quarter, but Ryan Reynolds is out for the second half, our middle linebacker. I am making excuses. That changed the entire complexion of our defense.
It did. They were already starting to kind of work the middle of the field and attacking the linebackers. Once he was out, then that was the game plan. And they actually had Shipley running the tight end routes. So just literally working the middle of the field, attacking the linebackers. It was so tough sledding out there for those guys.
And who's to say? I'm not sure. Ryan Reynolds wasn't he wasn't a Butkus award-winning linebacker or anything. And who's not to say that Jordan Shipley doesn't beat him down too, which I, don't put anything past that dude in that game. But it did. It's like, I think the guy, was it Tom Wart? Is that who filled in for?
I don't think it was Wart yet. It was, what was his name? I want to say his name was Crow. Something Crow. Is that right?
Let me look. Hold on, guys. Hold on, OU fan.
Was it Brandon Crow? Was that his name? That's what I want to say. And this is just completely off.
No, I'm not. I see a Brandon Crow. It might have been Brandon Crow. Yeah.
Was it 48? Was it? What's the number?
Yep. You're well done. Listen, if for all you listeners out there, if you want to know why I chose Kevin Miller to be my co-host, is that right there. Brandon Crow, number 48. I put it out of my mind. And you know what was interesting about that is I remember thinking as I'm watching the game that they put him in because he was Ryan Reynolds' backup, but he wasn't the next best player. And it always bugged me that we couldn't put a better player back there. Like, I understand that Crow was the backup.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the best player. So we had a better linebacker on the sideline. And I should have written that down, but now we kind of got going here. But we had a better linebacker on the sideline, and I just kept thinking to myself, play that guy. Play anybody but Brandon Crow.
Do you know who that was?
Oh, you know what? I don't want to spend a ton of time looking. Well, Travis Lewis is one. It could have been.
Yeah,
Travis
but he was already out there. He started the game. It was him and
I know later that year they played a lot of Nick Harris at linebacker.
I thought he would have been a really good linebacker.
They played a lot of Nick Harris at linebacker, and I think that would have been a better move than what.
You also had Keenan Clayton.
That might have been him. Number 22.
Sulphur Springs, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep. That might have been Clayton, but I was thinking it was either Clayton or Nick Harris. I'm like, Brandon Crow. I'm not picking on you, Brandon Crow. You're a Sooner. I wasn't, blah, blah, blah. But it just, there were other dudes out there that I thought would have given us a better chance to win. But I know what they were doing. They were going with, he understands the playbook. He understands the coverages. I hated that. Kevin, well done, Brandon Crow. I hope to do that one day to you. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Y'all go on after this game. You go on to lose to Texas Tech in Lubbock.
Heartbreaking. Yeah, this is the worst loss I've experienced as a Texas fan.
Who's the quarterback for Texas Tech?
Graham Harrell.
Was it Graham Harrell still?
It was.
Huh? When his post game, when he's like, I just threw it to my man Crab, and he made a play. Alice Young, for those who is my wife, for those who are listening for the first time, Alice is not a football fan, but she was fired up by that play. She knew how exciting that play was to beat Texas.
Yeah.
And then we just destroyed Texas Tech.
They had nothing left after that Texas game. I mean, everything they had inside of them was left on that field.
It was amazing. And then I just remember, can you remember the circular logic that was trying to be used?
Yeah.
By both coaches?
Yes.
And we got into the Big 12 because we were ranked higher than you guys. And Bob Stoops just kept going because people are like, well, why shouldn't Texas get in over you? I mean, they beat you. Yep, but we beat Texas Tech. And he just kept coming back to that. But we beat Texas Tech. But we beat Texas Tech.
Yeah.
That had to be one of the most miserable decisions ever by the Big 12.
It was rough because I'm telling you, we love that team. That team, I mean, almost as much as the 05 team, seriously. Love that 08 team. And would have loved to see what they could have done against Florida in the national championship.
We've said it before, but you beat Florida.
Yeah,
we beat Florida. We beat Florida if we got DeMarco Murray.
It's just a bizarre. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see that. Obviously, the Big 12 is broken down differently now, but we'll never see that again. When you have three teams from the same division, all with one loss against each other.
Yeah, I guess you could potentially see it in the SEC. We'll find out.
But it just seems so unlikely,
Now, if I remember correctly, too, Texas fan was still holding on to hope that Missouri would beat us, and y'all would somehow back into the BCS, right?
I mean, look, there was a hope that it would. I mean, there was no way you guys were losing to Missouri.
No,
it just was not going to happen. Of course, you're hopeful, but there was no way.
DeMarco Murray that's when he hurt his knee
dislocated knee.
Yeah.
Big injury.
Oh, listen, that 2008 game, that was a good football game.
Also, forgot to mention Earl Thomas, redshirt freshman that year. just an absolute stud. Man.
Well, and I could name our offensive line. I mean, Phil Lodeholt was on
Trent
that team.
Williams.
Trent Williams is on that team.
Yeah.
Trent Williams.
Still in the league.
Still
league. Really good, too.
And still getting big contracts. Big contracts.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Jermaine Gresham was just a heck of a tight end.
I mean, he's as good as any tight end I've ever seen in college football. That's how good I thought he was.
The following year, we're playing BYU.
Nightmare for you guys.
And I'm fortunate enough to run into Barry freaking Switzer at Rudy's Barbecue in Norman the Friday before that BYU game.
Okay.
And he was awesome. Every story you ever hear about Barry Switzer, he was that good. It's like, hey, coach, don't want to bug you, but how are we going to do tomorrow? And, you know, he's still doing a little TV at the time. And he just breaking down the game. But he said that we're not giving enough attention to the fact that Jermaine Gresham's hurt.
Okay.
And sure enough, that blitz on BYU came on Jermaine Gresham's side, lit up Bradford. And, Jermaine Gresham was a stud. And, dude, he was a stud for Cincinnati for a number of years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, he's as good as any college tight end I've seen.
Yeah.
There's nothing he couldn't do. I mean, he had the big touchdown in the 08 game. I remember he had one in the 07 game. He's just that guy, for sure.
He's so good.
For sure.
Episode 4 is coming to an end. I think 2000 and 2008 are – 2000 was not a great game, but it was a great game for Oklahoma fan, and it set the tone for Bob Stoops' run through the Big 12 for years to come. 08, to your point, even though it was a loss, great game. Why you're a college football fan. And it was a loss, but man, it was a heck of a game to be at, heck of a game to be a part of. And to look back at it and look at the talent on both teams makes you yearn for those days. You know, I don't care what Sooner fan says. When Sooner fans like, I can't ever root for Texas. No, you need Texas to be good. And Texas needs Oklahoma to be good. And when we're both good.
Yeah, it's better. It's better when both programs are rocking because, again, you get those games like that with, you know, both teams being ranked in the top 5. I mean, Texas jumped from number 5 to number 1 because that's how much respect the media had for Oklahoma. So Texas can go and beat this team, and they're probably the best team in the country. So
it was, it was fantastic. This was super fun. I can't believe we're done with episode 4.
Yeah.
If there's anything that people feel like they need to share or get off their chest or they disagree with me, hit me up on my Snapchat and my TikTok, and I'll be sure to respond appropriately. Kevin, what do you think?
Again, we appreciate you guys watching. Any feedback, let us know in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about the 08 game and the 2000 game. And if there are any games you want us to talk about at a later time, hey, let us know. Also, you can find us on other podcast platforms too.
Episode 5 is going to have this is probably your favorite game, right? 08.
Yes.
It's going to have my favorite game. My favorite game is in the next episode.
Okay.
And if anybody's ever heard me talk about OU football, I don't think it'll be a surprise, but my favorite game is in the next episode. The game you chose is not one of my favorite games, so that'll be fine. That'll be good.
Let's do it.
Oh, you know what? Actually, it was a really good game, though.
Yeah.
A little teaser. Really another incredible game.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it all away. Kevin, this was fun. See you, buddy.
See you, man. Have a good one.